What is up? What is up, my friends? Big Chet's in the house. We're joined with Big Chonas. Big Chonas, do we have you on the line? I believe you're in Switzerland.
Yeah, Chads, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm in
Yeah.
Switzerland.
Yeah, at a conference. Was it a Lederhosen conference that you're speaking at?
Wow, I can't think of anything interesting right now. Lederhosen works. Lederhosen works.
Yeah, man. You're always one of their favorite guests. Guys, we're just have a great show planned for you. It is Let's Talk Crypto, episode 9. I am Big Cheds. If you know me from Twitter, I am at Big Cheds, where you can find me. After I fumble here with the page, yes, at Big Cheds on Twitter, and my compadre, my partner in crime, is Big Chonas. Chonas Trading. He's on Twitter recently, and he is blowing up. He's like that song from the Eagles, "The New Kid in Town." But he's actually the old kid. Chonas has been around longer than I have trading crypto. Isn't that right, Chonas?
A little bit longer. A little bit longer. And I am older than you, so I have that kind of seniority as well.
Yeah, it's true, but that only accounts in hand grenades and horseshoes. Also, guys, I just want to encourage you to check out Ched's Trading on YouTube. You can subscribe and see all of the videos that we have here for you. So far, Big Chonas and I, we've been doing one of these shows, one of these Let's Talk Crypto shows, maybe every other day, where we talk about the major coins, and then we do a big segment where we talk about the altcoins. And that's a format that you and I like to do, a little longer format. We can stretch out the ideas a little bit. And then we do our live updates where you and I will pop on for 20 minutes and just kind of, take the temperature of the crypto market. And I feel like that's a good system we have going so far. What do you say?
Yeah, Chads. I mean, there's so many people that are looking for our information, our ideas, our thoughts on so many coins out there, not just with the big three. We're at a very interesting moment right now, I feel, in crypto. A lot of people are looking for direction, looking for ideas, looking for someone to hold their hand, to
Hmm.
hold them, to try and help them navigate these treacherous waters where I feel we find ourselves in at the moment.
All right, that's a good call. So please check out those videos, subscribe. Also, if you go to the blog at chedstrading.blogspot.com, I do have the complete beginner's guide to cryptocurrency trading I put together for you guys. Pretty much any question you might have, these are hyperlinks here, so you can kind of jump to whatever section you want in the article. If you're interested in chart basics, oftentimes you'll hear me talk about Bollinger Bands, you'll hear me talk about stochastics, hear me talk about different ways to trend lines, how to draw a trend line. All those questions can be answered once my internet's so slow. It's like I have the gerbil, Big Chonas, like in the wheel right now, and I didn't feed the gerbil, so he's not running. But if you go ahead, and the idea is, once you click on these hyperlinks, they're going to take you right to the section. We're not going to be set back. It's not working right now. We'll jump right back in that later. Point of the show is we're going to talk about Bitcoin. And right now, Big Chonas, Bitcoin, what is your feeling? What direction are we headed right now?
I have a lot of thoughts basically on what we've been seeing over the past 24 hours. We talked about it last night. We're talking about holding that 7,000 range and how from a psychological standpoint that was really important. The bulls were able to do that until yesterday's daily close put in,
Mm-hmm.
and then we basically shortly tanked there on after and broke through that 7,000 with a decent amount of conviction. Had a little pop really early this morning, that brought us back over 7.2, and it was kind of interesting to see, how the market would respond to that that 7,000 range again. Was it going to be something we would be able to hold on to? And we basically were able to fall right through it, pretty much like a hot knife through butter.
Mm-hmm.
So we're 18 minutes away from this daily close, another red candle, kind of indecisiveness, but pretty red. Nothing's
Smaller range than
smaller
yesterday.
range, tighter range,
Yep.
a little bit to kind of hold on to there.
Almost a spinning top. You could kind of call it a bullish spinning top if you wanted to.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, we were down to what, 6,600 or so.
Right, right,
So that was pretty bloody, and we were
right.
able to push back up, $300 there, which was nice.
Hmm.
So we've kind of been range bound at least today in the high sixes,
Okay.
we'll call it. But you kind of want to take a step back there and ask yourself, what is this? What am I actually looking at here? What kind of a market am I actually looking at here in Bitcoin? And I'll
Hmm.
just focus on Bitcoin for now. I think the other two guys, Litecoin, Ether, have a lot of interesting things, but I almost feel
Hmm.
like they're slightly different right now in terms of what's going on with Bitcoin.
Yeah, I agree. I
Uh,
totally agree.
so, we're not really seeing a lot of volume. If you basically want to look at the volume, it's a little higher, which is good. We were in the 4 billion range, now in the 6 billion range. So we're thinking, oh, okay, is that money flow coming in? Is that new money coming
Hmm.
in, trying to scoop up some cheap Bitcoin right now,
Hmm.
or is it just increased market volume based on people dumping?
Hmm.
And I don't, even though I like to see the dollar volume increase, it's always a positive thing. You don't like to see the price decrease when the dollar volume increases, and that's kind of
Hmm.
what we're looking at right
Yeah, but
there. So.
yeah, with a caveat, right? I mean, because classically, the most volume, where does it come, right? In the top and the bottom. So you want, if you say in the one hand you want capitulation, but then you say in the other hand you don't want to see, increasing volume with downward price movement. Like which one, right? You can't have both.
Well, that's a pure cameo into my next point, which is exactly right, Chats. When we bottomed, we would talk about what does bottom volume look like, and you're right. We will see increased volume here as the selling continues.
Right.
We're also going to see higher volatility. The more the volatility we see, I believe, the closer to a bottom, at least short term, we get. So, better volatility, larger candles in hourly time frames and 4-hour time frames. These are things that will signify to me we're closing in
Mm-mm.
on some sort of a
I would
bottoming area.
disagree. I would kind of disagree. You'd actually want to see a smaller range. 'Cause typically, you're going to see once you've had those larger candles, which we just had those two larger candles in the 4 hour, right? Big Chonas, by the way, this is Big Cheds talking to you. We had those two large 4 hour candles, and now we have potentially two much smaller ranges. So actually, you want to see the smaller range at the bottom. So
Well, you have to ask yourself
we've got
what
it right
kind of a
here.
bottom,
Three
what
out.
kind
This
of a
is yeah. Go ahead.
well, what kind of a bottom are we putting
I
in
don't
here?
know, but
So,
look, this pattern. What pattern? There's a pattern right now that's right in front of us in the 3 hour, on the 4 hour. No, on the
mhm.
3 hour, 57 minute chart. Uh, no, look, right now, look, it's a three inside up. That's a three inside up right now. We're about to. I'd tweet this, but I'm in the middle of a show, and that'd be rude to all these people. So in like 15 minutes, when this candle closes, it's a three inside up. Doesn't mean it
Three
doesn't.
inside up.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's gonna like doesn't. It just means it's better than 50% probability it's gonna go up. Just it's a bullet. It's a bullish indicator. It's you've got that inside bar right there. You have that initial doji. You've got that initial. Looks like a spinning top. And you have this. They're basically two bullish spinning tops right in a row on the 4 hour chart. And the first one is pretty much contained within the candle body of the previous candle. It's your inside bar. You have a three inside up, right? One, two, three. So, but like then there's decent volume on it too. So that's just one. I just kind of noticed that. But what kind of jumped out to me is on the 1 hour Big Jonas. So we kind of have a double bottom here on the 1 hour. We kind of almost have like a descending triangle on the 1 hour with like with a flat bottom and kind of the lower highs,
So this
which would be
current
which would be bearish. But you also have a double bottom. So I see whatever I want here, right?
Well, that's a great point. You see whatever you want to see. So you
Yeah.
have to ask yourself, what are your expectations? What are you looking for right now? So, are you a trader or are you an investor? So what we saw last night was a very oversold Bitcoin when we were at 6,600. We got a nice spike up, almost $600. That was a nice little move there. And then it got sold into. So you have to ask yourself, wow, we just gave all that back and then some. And now we're fighting for our lives here to try to get back over 7,000. If every bullish green candle or bullish setup that seems to show is being sold into, then that tells me this is a trader's, this is a flipper's market here, where every little scoop
Yep.
of 3 to 4 to 5% in
Right.
profit is being sold into like a profitable trader would do.
Sure.
And
Well,
so
we
are
know
we?
we know that a lot of the smart traders are doing that because they understand trading. You can even trade within a down channel, right? They understand that price movement outside of a standard deviation where you've been going down, $3 a day, and all of a sudden you went down $10 or something. You see what I'm saying? So they can kind of, even scoop up those little dips. So yeah, I think you're making a great point about the traders, Big Jonas.
The thing is that, I've constantly having to kind of reassess my expectations based on what kind of a market I feel we're currently in now. And if we can just briefly talk about that,
Well, we
I
can go
feel.
back. We can go back in the shows. You were upfront about your Litecoin targets
Mhm.
and how you would move them. You have 150, and then and I moved that to 140, and then you know what I'm saying. So there you go. That's what you adapt to your market expectations.
And the word is adapt. You have to constantly adapt to what's happening here because there's news coming out all the time. There's FUD, there's bullish news, there's
Yep.
bearish news,
Yep.
there's overall market sentiment, there's who's saying what, there's world economies that I believe also affect crypto. So there's all these variables, all these factors that
Right.
as a crypto trader, you have
And
to
it's
constantly.
24/7. It's 24/7.
Exactly.
So
So
forget
as
about it. So it's like
as
forget about it. It's
so
like even before you start, you're like, all right, forget about it, right? You just gotta just admit. You just gotta admit, like, all right, forget about it before you even start.
right.
Let's get this rolling here because we got some work to do ahead of us. We can have a lot of fun. We can sit around and we can drink beers or we can get to work here. Litecoin on the 1 hour chart. What's jumping out to me, Big Jonas? I am spotting essentially. It looks better first of all than Bitcoin, and I know you agree with me, somewhat at least. We have a kind of a double two falling wedges, a breakout, from two falling wedges still within a well-defined downtrend line, right? So we have it, if I this is in the 1 hour, right? If I zoom out a little bit, I want to go 4 hour. I can make an argument, and I haven't discussed this with you yet, but I could make an argument for an inverted head and shoulders in the 4 hour, Big Jonas. Do you see that?
I do. There is
So
definitely
that's an argument.
argument.
That's an argument, right? So if I look at that and I want to zoom in closer and I look at the 1 hour, we have higher lows right now. We do not have higher highs yet. So we really need to test and break 124 closing on the hourly here. But we do have these mini breakouts within this consolidation channel where we have these two falling wedges and we have these breakouts. So this is it was just fun for me to watch. That's why the 1 hour chart is a nice little. I don't know. It's a fun little in between, and maybe next week I'll be really into the 4 hour chart. But that's what I'm seeing on Litecoin. What about you, my friend?
So pull up the 4 hour again, if you will, and there's a pattern that on Litecoin that is sticking out to me that I'm like, where have I seen that before?
Yep.
It's called the diamond pattern,
Uh-huh.
and basically what you have there is very narrow at the ends, very wide in the middle on the 4 hour, and then we're narrowing up again. Now, some would call this a potential diamond bottom. I've seen diamond bottoms break down and get much lower, so I don't really like to use the bottom part of it. But this
That's
diamond
not what I've
pattern
heard.
here,
That's not what I've heard.
this diamond pattern here is basically telling me it's coiling again, and it's prepping to make a move in either direction, up or down. So it doesn't give me a sense of direction in terms of up or down, but it gives me a sense of coiling and where a change in direction is kind of on the near horizon.
So we have a diamond bottom in front of us. I'll let people decide for themselves. Kind of talks about that consolidation that you talked about. I'll just leave it up on the screen for just a few minutes, or a few seconds rather, a few moments rather. So that's where we are. That's a good call. I think that's a good way to look at it. And so you agree, you concur with the wedge break, or do you think I'm over extrapolating?
I think short term, sure. Sure. But you talked about how Litecoin is doing better than Bitcoin right now.
Right.
Let's analyze that. So we
Okay.
saw last night
Yep.
Litecoin and Ether were doing far worse than Bitcoin.
Sure.
They were down 5, 6, 7% worse. So
Hmm.
could Litecoin, in a sense, be almost an outlier to what's going to happen with Bitcoin in terms of when Litecoin was super oversold? And you brought a note to this last night, how you were seeing bullish divergence in the OBV.
Yes, that was an early clue. That was.
Yep,
I'm going to
at
point
around
that out. Thank you.
110, 111,
I'll point it out
which
right
was
here.
such a great call because what we saw there is we actually saw some
Right here.
bottoming coming in. Even though the price was more or less stabilizing, the OBV was rising faster. And sure enough, we had an amazing hourly candle there
Whoa.
where a lot of great profit potential was there
Hmm.
and apparently was taken as well, because once we topped off there, basically it gave it all back through the rest of the day. And, it did put in a higher low at like 113, sure. But that was one of those moments where a super oversold situation can set up for a nice bounce. And I don't think we're there yet with Bitcoin. I don't think we've seen that yet with Bitcoin. So I think we're seeing a little more strength, I guess you could argue, in Litecoin,
Hmm.
because we may have, from a short-term standpoint, found some decent bottom support
Where is
around
that
110
tweet?
to 112.
I think it's a beautiful analysis. I was just thinking to myself as you were saying that, and you thank you for reminding me. I put out a tweet whenever that was X number of hours ago, where I put on the screen here these blue dots, and essentially where I started to notice the trend change. You could even move it over here, and it's more striking. But I started to notice the trend change in the on-balance volume, where you have the close of the candle here for this mark, and you have the close of the candle here for this mark, and it's essentially sideways to slightly down, where clearly you have a big upward movement here, and it continues up here. So look where the on-balance volume was. I mean, this is unbelievable. Look where the on-balance volume is right here versus right here. Look at that trend change difference. Look what happened with the price, and look where it was. It was right at the pivot. Right when it broke that falling wedge. So that was a beautiful signal. It's not always that clear,
People
unfortunately.
started to scale in from your analysis. People were scaling in from 115 down,
Yeah. Hmm.
and that's what happened there. So you see a lot of scaling in there, and that's why the OBV was increasing
And
while
you
the
have,
price was
and
decreasing.
look what we did. Look what we did. Look how we back tested that trend line twice. I mean,
Hmm.
that's pretty strong. And then here we've now back tested this top trend line, Big Jonas. So on your screen, essentially, I drew this line right here of these candle closes, and it looks like, so that's pretty good. I mean, it's kind of textbook right now. It's fun to watch. This is the geeky side of me talking about charts.
I love it.
Ethereum. Let's just go daily real quick, and it's a nice. I like the candle on Ethereum because it's a smaller range, Big Jonas. We have a bullish spinning top candle. It's essentially an inside bar here with on the prior, almost a red Maribozu candle. So it's a nice potential starting point to a reversal. What do you say, sir?
Ether under $400 is just amazing, considering how, excuse me, how where we were, where we've been,
Right,
and where we might be going.
right.
Um, you think about, are people going to continue to dump into the 300s? At
Unlikely.
least,
It doesn't make sense, right?
right. It does make sense. At
Maybe
least in the
350, maybe 350. I don't know.
right
Like nut bottom.
when we were over, 400, 500, 600, 700 in Ether, a lot of that was still profit from people that had been long-term Ether
Legacy, right?
holders,
Legacy.
legacy holders and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
We're getting back down to areas here where a lot of people made their first initial investments into Ether. So we're
That's
kind
a
of
good
at this
call.
area here where a lot of people are kind of back to their break-even
But
areas.
that's a level people usually are comfortable in dollar cost averaging or doubling down, right? At an initial
Exactly.
buyback.
Exactly. So I
Yeah.
think we've bled out quite a bit, basically all through March in Ether, and
Okay.
we've kind of seen that there. I think we're kind of start to see a slight ebbing or slowing
Hmm.
of the tip of the precipitous, is that a word? Of what we've seen Ether do. I'm not saying we've bottomed by any means necessary,
Look where we are,
but
Big Jonas. I mean, this is a very important level.
it is. It
If you
is.
go
And
in the daily, look in the daily, pull up, pardon me, pull up right around June of 17, and then pull up August, end of August of 17, and look at those highs, and look exactly where we are. I mean, this is an important level. If you believe in horizontal support, if you're a believer in the functionality of how support and resistance works, like this is an important level.
It is. And Chits, if you could possibly add RSI to your thing there, I want to just briefly discuss this here because
Yeah.
when we're in these bottoming zones here, I think RSI is such a great indicator to give you a better sense of kind of where we might be.
Oh, wow.
We use a lot of indicators to give us a sense of kind of where the market's telling us. A
Hmm.
lot of indicators are great for short-term trading,
Wow.
but I really feel the RSI on a daily scale
Look at
give you
this.
a real sense of where we are. And
Yeah,
look how low we
that's
are.
ridiculous. I didn't even notice that. I mean, that's startling. I mean, look at the last time we were this low.
We've never really been this
I
low.
mean, we were, but yeah, like back
Right.
in whatever, December of 2016.
So we are super
Super duper.
oversold.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way you don't even return to the 30 level. You know what I mean? There's like
Right.
no, you know what I'm saying? Like even in the worst case scenario, there's no way you don't bounce to that 30 level.
So, if Bitcoin is going to continue its slow bleed down in the sixes,
Yeah.
I don't really see how Ether holds up. However, I don't really see it
Well, I don't know.
tumbling.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not convinced because I'm not convinced there isn't decoupling at a certain point, right? It's like Bitcoin, they can all have different floors in terms of their relative one-to-one ratio. Like
Right.
Litecoin, it's not. I don't feel like it's going to go under 100. Like even if it does for like 5 minutes, you know what I mean? So like, you know what I'm saying? And like Ether, I feel like it's got that bottom 350 roughly. You know?
So let's talk a little bit about divergence here, because
Yeah.
Bitcoin is
The
basically
movie, not the movie, of course.
not the movie,
Okay.
controlled the show here for a while. And you have to ask yourself,
Hmm.
Bitcoin's run, parabolically speaking, was, a bit more, no pun intended, than the Litecoin run was, sort of, in the sense that, in the short term, I should basically say. So, Bitcoin from $1,000 to $20,000, a 20 bag. Bitcoin, Litecoin from $100 to $400 of four bag, 400% range there, happening in very quick time succession there. So you mentioned the $100 price range of Litecoin, a very important psychological point, as well as a point that has definitely had some history. When we were bottoming back in early February, three times the $100 to $104, $105 range acted as some nut low support and allowed us to do another push that brought us back to about $250 here. I feel that the 110, 111, 112 bottoming we experienced last night is real, but is temporary. And basically what I mean by that is we're not seeing that kind of volume push that we have seen previously with definitive bottoms, mostly because the sense of a V bottom or a great buying opportunity, which used to present itself on extreme oversold circumstances, isn't there right now, mostly because of how we've trickled down to these low 100
Yeah, but
ranges.
I mean, they've been saying that though. And eventually that wears, that's, yeah, I mean, that's pretty true, but I feel like we've had some of that too. And we've had some of these big flushes. I mean, we've had enough flushes to form a bottom, and you have to allow yourself the ability for other patterns to form and to be forming. And when you've got these signals here, where you have these two bullish breaks, I mean, albeit until this intermediate downtrend line is broken, essentially a break and a close above. I will admit you don't have the better of the argument, but clearly you have some signs here. So I don't know that you need like let me get to a good point. A good point I want to make is you don't need like a crazy flush from here, given what we're already seeing. The buyers and the sellers are talking, and you're seeing that in the price action. In this 1 hour chart, you're seeing the negotiation happen right now, right?
Yes, but the negotiation is very cautious. Both sides are holding to themselves very tightly.
Like a middle
Every
school
time
dance. It's like a middle school dance.
it is, with room for the Holy Ghost in the middle.
Yep.
Because what we're seeing here is every time we get some bullish momentum,
Hmm.
there isn't that conviction that, okay, I'm going to hold, I'm not
Yep.
going to flip, and I'm going to try and create that pattern there, and it's getting sold into. And the the money is not flowing in the way we've seen other bottoms
pretty good.
progress.
I think it's
Now,
pretty good. You're seeing increasing volume clusters here right now in this channel. We're in a clear channel. You see it on your screen. I'm looking at Litecoin. We're in a clear channel. We're seeing increased volume clusters here, right? In this particular channel right now that we're in.
Yes, but is that the last of the dumping? Is that the middle of the dumping?
Well,
I mean, yes, we're
people will
seeing
have to
volume
tune in.
clusters.
People will have to tune in tomorrow to find out.
Right. But if if you look at the daily, let's say,
Yep.
and we reassess those volume clusters,
Okay.
how many reds and how
Pretty
many
good.
greens,
It's pretty good. This is the most volume we've had since, for a while, for a long time.
Right.
This is the
And
most volume
so
we've had since our prior peak on Litecoin. So that's a bottom. That's an argument in favor of the bulls, essentially, except for this one day, whatever it is, 3/9, March 9th. And we could surpass, no, we didn't surpass that, but we're right up there. I mean, other than the March 9th, it's the most volume we've had since the top. So I don't think it's a very convincing argument to say there's not enough volume. Or at
but
least
does
I'm not convinced. I'm
increased
not
well,
convinced.
yes, but is increased volume increased liquidity? And is there increased liquidity because
Mhm.
people are dumping coins in the market? So
The
I agree
liquidity,
the
liquidity.
volume.
It's momentum. It's mojo. It's how people feel about sentiment, and the sentiment can change when the people who are supposedly the soothsayers tell everyone, "Okay, it's bullish now. Now you can feel bullish."
Mhm.
And that's going to happen after, you have this price negotiation, and you have a pattern that forms, and you have a further breakout, and you have a further confirmation. Let's jump onto let's go altcoins, my friend. Why don't you? I'm gonna do a quick reset while you scan the chat room and kind of get ready for that. This is Big Ched's coming to you. We are doing Let's Talk Crypto. This is episode 9, Friday, March 30th, 2018. I'm joined by Big Chonas. You can find him on Twitter at Big Chonas. I think he does a great job. He provides like a little different content than I do, a little different angle, as you can tell. So I think he's a great follow if you're into the crypto space. And you can find me on Twitter at Big Cheds, of course, the YouTube channel where we do this show every couple days, the long form show. We also do a live update. If something's happening, we like to do a show and keep you guys updated, right, Big Jonas? That's something we're trying to do.
Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely.
What do we have in the chat room? What are our friends in the chat room saying? How are they feeling? What's the sentiment right now?
Well, it's nice to see 448 of our closest friends in the chat room here. A lot of lively action debate. Lots of awesome shout outs here. It's nice to see everybody in there. Let's go with ADA, our friend Cardano.
All right. Ada Cardano. Let's do that. So, I have some old trend lines here drawn in. We've been talking about ADA pretty much every episode. On a 4-hour scale, it's had a nice recovery from this bottom here. So what we want to see, it's going to be a small pullback. It's kind of stair-stepping. So I'm going to draw a couple quick trend lines. Just what's jumping out to me. I don't know that it's going to hold into this trend or not, but I'm kind of just seeing, kind of like a rough channel here. So that's just a couple quick lines I would want to watch to see if it holds for strength. What are you seeing on ADA, Big Jonas?
We've been following this one for a while. We do it in most of our shows because it's one of those higher market cap coins. Every day I'm like, oh, look at that. It's still holding that 2,000 Satoshi range. Isn't that interesting? We had such a pretty nasty bleed all the way from our 9,000 range where we peaked off at there. Definitely leveling off. Maybe that's where a lot of the market basically was entering in that initial bull run there. I'm seeing a couple things here on the daily. I'm seeing it's a little overbought. Basically seeing not the greatest
It's not that
volume.
overbought. Is it that
It's
overbought?
not.
Are you
It's
are you
not.
including the stochastics of this candle that just formed? Because remember, it's kind of like a mirage, where we're still technically haven't crossed the 80 mark, if you think about it. So it's not overbought. It's approaching over. It's approaching overbought.
It's approaching overbought in kind of the larger scale. If you want to get a little more micro, there definitely is some nice, on the 1 hour especially. It's a decent looking movement there. Nice little upward movement there on the candle. Definitely some buying pressure came in. When did that come in? Did it happen to come in last night when Bitcoin was starting to pop again? could be. Was that kind of a correlation in terms of the rising price of Bitcoin combined with a little more buying action there?
It's been
It could
steady.
be.
No, this has been steady volume, Big Jonas, for the last, whatever, 44-hour periods.
Hmm.
Um,
It has. It has. It's one to keep an eye
but
on
look at
there.
the downtrend. I'm seeing bearish divergence on the on balance volume. Are you detecting that as well?
I see that, and my overall feel of
So that's a
this is
that's
that
a that's a warning sign,
yeah,
folks.
this isn't done yet. I
This
feel
is
this
gonna
is kind
go.
of
This is coming back. Yep, to
yeah. I feel
2000.
this is like a chilling out area here.
Uh-huh.
But
It
there
might
is
happen. Yep.
right, but there's a lot of historic support much lower, almost to the 12 to 1300 range.
12 to
So
13. I was gonna say it's gonna test the higher low of 1909.
I mean, if you want to go macro, sure, but I mean, if you want to look at just where I think we're going here, I
Yeah.
don't think we're out of the woods yet. I don't see any change
Okay.
in
So
direction
you're
in
saying it
terms
could
of
you're
sentiment.
saying it could break this low here of 1727.
Oh yes, I think there's nothing
Oh
here that
wow.
says we've bottomed yet at
Okay,
all.
very fair, very fair. I'm not really disagreeing. I'm just telling folks a couple trend lines to watch for and support levels to watch for. What's next?
All right, Sheds. I'm not sure if I've heard of this one, but let's take a peek here. POA. Got a lot of requests for POA.
Oh, okay. I've not heard of POA. I'm gonna pull up Binance, assuming it's got some volume, hopefully. So POA on the 4-hour chart, it's pretty nice. Obviously, you're in an uptrend right now. You're holding your middle Bollinger Band. You had this nice move here, Big Jonas, where we had those clear profit-taking signals. You see how we have the two shooting stars, and we have essentially a gravestone doji.
Yes.
And so that was kind of a clear signal what they had before. And then this consolidation period, you pull back to your middle Bollinger, and you still got the upper shadows, but you're still holding your gains. So that's kind of interesting. The volume is light, so uh, it could test either way. But I mean, it looks good right now. It looks pretty good right now. I would say. Yeah, it looks pretty good. You'd want to watch and see what happens here. Does it test this resistance level of 4,002? What are you seeing?
Yeah, Chance. I mean, the first thing that popped out when we did the search for it is that this is only currently available on one marketplace, on the Binance marketplace. So that in itself is kind of one of those things where the more diverse a coin is, the better chance it will last a lot longer, and also the more money flow can flow into it. This was apparently added on Binance back end of February. It's a pretty new coin, had some kind of consolidation, trying to find a bottom there, and
Yep.
definitely has made some nice moves
Hmm.
from that 3,000 range you're kind of pushing up.
Yeah.
The
Look at this
four
nice
hour,
double bottom. This had a nice W
yeah,
double bottom.
this is a legit impulse wave. It's a
Yep.
clear, there's some money flow
One.
coming here. It's a nice momentum here.
Uh-huh. So what wave would we
Money's
be in right now? Is this like starting three, or what wave would that be?
This is still wave one, I would say.
Okay.
There's basically it's slow and steady up. There hasn't been a correction yet. There
Okay.
hasn't been a big pullback yet.
Hmm.
Kind of daisy chaining higher,
Yep.
very methodically.
Hmm.
Profits are taking every
Yep.
time it busts through the upper Bollinger on the 4 hour there. That's what you
Okay.
want to see in a healthy chart. This one's still young. This is an infant,
Yep.
So we're going to see how this one plays out. I wasn't familiar with it
Yep.
before, but
Let's
it's
see.
definitely one we're going to put on
I mean, you
our
could see in
radar
the
now.
screen. I'm sure you see in the screen this resistance level I drew, and
Hmm.
it appears to be somewhat significant. So we'll have to, I would kind of watch that, and see what happens. I mean, you know, if you're lucky, you put in some sort of a ascending triangle pattern here. All right, what's next?
Let's look at your favorite one, right? A little TRX. Also
So
is triple.
Tron actually looks right now pretty good right here, because we have the stochastics bottomed, you have strong on balance volume, and you are consolidating right at the middle Bollinger Band. So right here, it actually looks like it's a good bet for a small, for a retest of like 650. So it looks okay here for a short trade. What do you think?
I mean, you have to say that this has been a very good looking chart since the
It's
bottom
boom.
being
Look
around
at that
three.
downtrend line too. I mean, unbelievable. This is
It's
unbelievable.
had,
Yep.
yeah, it's very nice. The money flow's good. I mean, it's literally up 100% in the past, 10, 12 days. That's a great move. It's basically been riding all the way up here. The money flow has been pretty solid.
Yep.
I don't know if there's any specific news or hype
There's
that's kind of pushing
like
this.
mainnet or whatever they call it, mannet or mannet, mainnet or something.
Hmm.
But like I just see what's interesting is you see a kind of a well-structured uptrend so far, Big Jonas, where
You
you
do.
you we right where you have this well-defined downtrend line, and it's is it coincidental that it's revisiting it right here at the middle Bollinger as stochastic resets? I mean, it's kind of interesting, isn't it?
If it keeps riding this, it definitely can move floor. But on the
Yeah.
daily, we've been pretty much topped off on the stocking for
Right.
quite some time now. We
Yeah.
busted through the top of the
Oh, that's
Bollinger and
interesting.
got rejected pretty heavily.
Hmm.
And we basically finished the last 2 days with some
Wow.
pretty red selling
Look at
there.
that candle
Uh,
we had today. Are you a little surprised we had this candle given the prior candle on the daily for Tron?
it's showing that there is some strong bullish sentiment
Right.
still in here for sure,
Right.
for
It's a
sure.
spinning. Because it's a spinning top. I mean,
It's spinning top.
you'd
Yep.
expect like a red bar like this prior one, maybe from March 25th. Like that's the kind of candle you'd expect, potentially. No.
It's true. It's true.
But you have the trend line. So I mean, there you go. So it's like, there you go.
Yep. I mean, but you have to realize that right now at this price point, you're buying into almost 100% gains in the last 12 days.
Right.
So you have to kind of keep your
Right.
expectations in check on that one.
All right, what's next? That's a great call. You're providing some great perspective. This is Big Cheds, and that was Big Jonas. We are live here. Let's talk crypto Friday, March 30th. What's going on, buddy? What's next in the chat room?
All right, let's take a look at Neo, Neo.
Okay, let's see. First played by Kenneth. What was his name? Keanu Reeves. Um, it's all right. 4 hour. I like the unbalanced volume on the 4 hour. You have kind of a little consolidation pattern here. Short-term double bottom, higher lows, but lower highs. So kind of something's got to give. I mean, if I drew this, it might be like a symmetric triangle or something. I'm gonna just play around with trend lines while you tell me what you're seeing.
What I'm seeing is that, I mean, this one had such a really solid parabolic move. It's given a lot of that back. It's trying to find some support here in the 7,000s. There is a lot of history here in this range. On a daily, it seems to kind of be hugging the 200-day there.
Hmm.
Um, the volume's decent. I'm seeing consistent volume. You always want to see money flow. So this one is just being constantly traded. That's a good thing. It's a good thing if you're a trader, if you like to flip. There's a lot of money flow flowing in here, which is always positive. We're
Right.
on like a decent little uptrend, a lot of sideways action here. I don't really see a lot of conviction either way. I guess my only point on this here is that this still has some downward pushes that could happen. And if it can't hold, I'd say this 67 to 7,000 range here. If you start to see that falling apart,
Hmm.
then it's kind of basically kind of
But
find this next level of
isn't
support.
isn't the obvious support the bottom trend line, Big Jonas? Do you see I drew on the screen? Isn't that what you're like the most obvious like delineator of what the direction is going to be is going to be this lower trend line.
Absolutely. So as I said, if you break that 768, a
Yep,
break of that
that's a
trend
great
line
call.
exactly,
It's a great
that's where I'd
call.
start to think, oh, this is
Now,
actually going to break down again.
do you see how we have the prior pattern? Almost like when you like archaeology, you uncover like ruins and you try to like picture what the house looked like.
Hmm.
So it's like we have now where I forgot to look at the initially forgot to look at the pattern we already broke out of. So what's interesting is we had kind of essentially we did have almost kind of a descending triangle, more just like a little wedge here. So we had the two highs where the price was rejected on the third time here actually, and then and then it broke out, and then it was back tested this. See how it back tested that downtrend line?
Hmm.
It's kind of interesting. So that kind of shows to me when I see that, that kind of tells me that we should be getting good signals from the rest of the chart, is what a point I'm trying to make. Like when it shows me that the price is responding to that upper trend line in that way, okay, then it gives me a little more faith in this lower trend line and how the price will respond to it and how I should interpret that signal. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. I do.
What's next in the chat room, Big Jonas?
Well, Chad, if we can do a little side turn here, people are really freaking out about what's happening with the big boys right now.
Okay.
So if we can head back to Bitcoin and just
Yeah.
take a peek and see what's going on
Let's
here.
go
We've
15. Let's go 15.
we've closed yesterday's
What are people
day.
freaking out? What are you talking about?
Well, there's a lot of excitement in terms of what they're seeing right
Oh,
now
let's
in
wait
terms
and
of some of
see.
the price action.
Excitement. I mean, you want
So
to
let's
you want to get excited. You bowl 300. That's how you get excited. All right. Let's see. Let me just see what trend lines I've drawn. We have a 700 break. All right, this is pretty good actually here, but we need to look for a candle close on the 1 hour. We've got 50 whatever minutes. So according to my method, right, we haven't really broken this downtrend yet because I'm looking for a candle close above this trend line, Big Jonas, on the 1 hour.
mhm.
It does appear, it does appear that we're essentially breaking out of a descending triangle, bullish breakout. However, you do have to remind yourself of the two prior upper wicks,
Mhm.
upper shadows. So if you go by my method, which I go by, you can go by whatever method you want to go by. I like candle closes, so I would wait for a confirmation. For me, would be a close above this trend line for a short-term bullish break. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Bitcoin do this a lot. It kind of chills out right before the end of the day close. The day closes. They show some buying intent, try and get the market excited, try and see if they can pull in any buyers here.
Hmm.
I'm not discounting this current little pop here,
Yep.
but the volume is going to be your friend here. And what are we
Hmm.
looking at here? We're looking at decent volume. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
There is a little money flow
I'm not
here.
seeing the spike in the unbalanced volume. This isn't a breakout. It's
Exactly.
not a breakout. That's why I'm hesitant. But it's a continued upward consolidation so far.
It is, and it kind of ends a little more credence to the thought about how are we bottoming here? Are we
Right.
V-bottoming, or
Right.
are we doing a skipping stone over the lake, trying to kind of
Is that
eventually
your
grab
term?
some?
Did you read that in a book somewhere, or was that your term?
It was the Zen Guide to Crypto. I just made it up.
Yeah, you
But
did.
basically, what we're looking at here is you bounce up the bottoms 3 or 4 or 5 times, maybe the bottom kind of kicks in there. So we're flirting once again with this 7,000 range. 7,000 doesn't seem to be a very strong, I'd say, resistance to the dollar. We seem to break above it
Yeah, I
uh,
don't see it as a
with
big
with
psychological
quite
resistance. Yeah, I
with
don't.
quite ease now.
Yep.
You know,
Either way.
so
Yep.
last night when we topped off at right at 72.75,
Mhm.
that's the price you really want to keep an eye on here. If we're going to actually have a real bottom confirmation and some legit conviction, we got
Mhm.
to blast through 7,300 really on the way up and hold it in at least a one
Wow,
to
that's
four
a
hour time
signal.
frame.
That's a great call. Litecoin has a buy signal here because you have close. Oh, it's 15 minutes. Sorry, I gotta be more careful.
Yeah, I'm not. I
One
mean, I'm
hour candle.
seeing.
Yeah, again. Okay, sorry. My apologies. Not yet. I'm looking for a candle close above this trend line. We still don't have it. So Litecoin, I'm evaluating Litecoin differently. You have price level in Bitcoin. For me, my Litecoin methodology with my trading method would be if this trend line breaks, I would scale in further, right?
Mhm.
Because if I was paper trading this or whatever method you have, uh, I would probably scale in on the initial wedge break, which, and then maybe even again on the secondary wedge break, and then I would have a third position here on this downtrend break. So that would be one method. Another method maybe would have been to wait till this trend line is broken because that's a clearer signal. Big Jonas. What do you say?
I'm not convinced of this move here,
Right, right.
mostly because I've been just watching this happen quite a bunch. I
Hmm.
mean, if you literally take last night's awesome hourly candle on Litecoin for an example,
Yeah,
which brought us from 112 to 126 in 1 hour,
right.
that's money flow. That's good money flow. We gave a lot of that back. We did put in a higher bottom, a
Okay.
little tweezer bottom there. Again,
But
that's a bullish move, and then another bullish bottom holding higher low follow up,
yep.
and now we're seeing a continuation right there. So, in no means am I saying that short term Bitcoin is not as bearish as it was for sure. It clearly is trying to find some sort of a bottom. It is 6% currently better than Bitcoin is right now. So right now it's the leader, where last night it was clearly the lagger. But if Chad, if you could pull up a GDAX for a moment here,
Yeah,
and let's kind of
let's
see
do it.
about where the money's parked. Let's take a little look at the depth chart there. Let's start with Bitcoin here, and just to get a sense of where the money's parked and see if we see any change
Yeah.
in the depth chart
Am
from
I
the one.
zooming out? What are we doing here?
Yeah, let's minus it all the way out. Kind of get all the way out there, see where all the limit orders, the current limit orders, are currently parked.
What's the difference between a limit and a market order, Big Jonas?
Great question, Chad. So basically, the market order, if you do a market order, two things happen. One thing is your order is filled pretty much instantly based on who's going to grab it first, if it's the maker or the taker, and you're probably going to pay a fee depending upon which exchange you're on. Limit orders are basically preset orders that you're basically saying, you know, if I want to buy this, I'm going to let this come to me. If I want to sell this, I'm going to let the buyers come to me. So basically you're putting in an order. Let's say if I wanted to sell, if I already owned Bitcoin and I wanted to put a sell in at 7,200 and I locked that in and that hits, that would fill at that price, and I wouldn't pay a fee, at least on GDAX, because it's a limit order. Same thing on the down. If I sold it at 7,200 and wanted to rebuy it at 6,800, I put rebuy it at 6,800.
Right.
I'd wait for it to come down. I'd wait for it to fill. That fill would be free, and then I can basically set my sell and follow the same thing. So that's a great way to basically, and you can also, it's really, as a trader, that's a great way where you can really confirm you're making profits, because you basically can set, okay, I'm going to sell half of my entry at this point. I'm going to sell 25% more here. And if I can do that, then maybe I'll keep a little bit longer. And if worst case, if this breakout falls through, I knew I can sell this last little piece kind of close to where I bought it, and I'll still be in the green in this trade. So that's a great way to basically trade. Market orders, buying and selling, I feel, are done in moments of kind of FOMO, whether you have this incredible fear of missing out because you're seeing the price just shoot up like a rocket and you're like, I got to get in on this, or you see the price plummeting and you want to get out. And if that's the case, you should have had a limit order probably already, and you're a little too late doing that there. So I try to avoid market orders at all possible and just stick to limit orders. It's a safer way to trade.
Great job, man. That's a great rundown. Let's wrap this up and jump back into altcoins.
Sure. So looking at BCC, looking at the depth chart, pretty much seeing the same thing we've been looking at the past several days here. A lot of money, a lot of cash is parked at lower price points. It's all right. So the gradient of the red is pretty much the same. It's a very sharp point.
Yes.
Very sharp. However, the gradient of the green short term is also sharper than we've seen it in the past couple days, meaning that there is a little buying pressure in the 65 to 7 range there. Which tells me a few things. Basically, it tells me there's a lot of flippers there. There's a lot of people looking to scoop up some 68, 67 to flip it for 69, 7,000. Kind of what I'm seeing there. So it's slightly more bullish.
Right, or even just they think they can sell it like at 73, 74.
Right. It's more of a quick flipping thing. I don't in any way see this as a change in market sentiment. This is still a very bearish depth chart, in my opinion. I'm not seeing anything that has basically changed my mind there. And that's kind of how I'm seeing that.
All right. Real quick, I just want to point out, you said everyone's excited about the little move in Bitcoin. I want to remind everyone that we had a signal in the 4-hour chart. We had our 3 inside up. Right, and let's look how the price has already responded here to that signal 40 minutes ago when the candle closed and we confirmed our 3 inside up pattern. So that's kind of cool. What's next in the chat room, folks? And this is Big Chad's coming to you live from here with Big Jonas. So let's talk crypto. What's next, buddy?
All right, let's look at some alts here. Once again, it's great to see everybody in here in the chat. A very lively chat room on this Friday evening.
Yep.
On this holiday
No
weekend.
drinking, but there's no drinking allowed in our family show, right?
Uh-oh. All right, let's look at little ICX. What's up, Richie? ICX.
All right, ICX. ICX right now, still trying to find a bottom. I'm looking at a 4-hour. I see no real improvement in the on-balance volume. I don't really see any big signs of hope yet. Um, just on a 4-hour scale, I'd want to see that level was already broken. So we had a recently had a recent a break of an important level, in my opinion, Big Jonas, and we're kind of just gonna have to wait and see for it to form a bottom. What are you seeing?
Yeah, Ched's a very similar assessment here. You know, we had a really nice parabolic move about a week ago. Just an amazing move there. Deflating, you know, still deflating, still trying to find
Hmm.
a level of support there. You know, it's cooled off a lot. You know, it was definitely way overbought, and now it's kind of coming down. The daily stock-in is leveling out. Its decline is slowly leveling out, and I think that's kind of what you're seeing in the price action here. Yesterday's candle was finally a decent candle.
Hmm.
We had basically 6 red candles in a row.
That's actually a pretty
Uh,
good candle. It's a great point. I should have
it's
looked.
not, yeah, it's not
It's
that
it's
bad.
not
You know,
bad. So if you can force sideways for a couple days while you finish resetting here, you might have a chance.
yeah, I mean, this definitely is an area here where it might want to do a reverse. The longer we go sideways, the better kind of base of support we'll be able to build in this
Yep.
33 range here.
Hmm.
So, you know, it's not bad. It definitely has some money flow, which we always like to see as well.
Hmm.
But, you know, it could be still doing some sideways consolidation as well.
What's next in the chat room, brother?
Oh, let's take a look at Ripple. What's up, Connor? A little Ripple XRP.
All right, Ripple. Why don't you go first on Ripple?
Let's pull up some Ripple. Okay, so we are in the low sevens here,
Hmm.
pulling up the 4-hour. 4 hour is a little topped off. We kind of put in a nasty wick on the previous 4-hour there, got a little too ahead of our skis.
No, that's this
You know, once
candle.
we
That's
push
this
through that,
candle. That's this candle.
the 4-hour there,
Yeah, the
we,
prior 4 hour is a nice candle. I mean, you could call
well,
it a hanging man, I guess.
well,
Potential.
it once it broke through that upper Bollinger there, I think that was interesting. Oh,
On
you know what?
Ripple?
I'm sorry. I'm on. All right, so which
I'm sorry,
which
Binance. I was on
Binance.
Binance.
Okay,
Yeah, I won't.
that's why
Yep.
we're a little off there.
My apologies. I set you up. That's what the whole thing was here.
Okay, all right,
Right?
there we go. Okay, so now I'm on Binance there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it wasn't a bad. No, I agree. Actually, that's a better looking 4-hour than the Ripple chart on Bittrex. Is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, kind of some decent money flow there. I like a lot of green bars there on the 4-hour.
Hmm.
You know, this one's been beaten down. You know, we don't have to rehash the Ripple story there.
Yep.
The decline is definitely seems to be evening out here.
Hmm.
Kind of feels like we've been in this range for quite a while, at least through the month, at least through the end of this month here, kind of in this, you know, 7 to 7,500 Satoshi range here. Ripple still has significant downward potential just based on how high it flew.
Hmm.
Um, if we lose this area of support, 5,000 is where we're going next. The volume is consistent.
5,000.
Yeah, I
Don't
think
you have support now to test? I mean, you can't. I mean, don't you have support to test before 5,000? I mean, right here, 71.83 looks like pretty good support in the 4-hour. I mean,
well, so the thing that really sticks out is a parabolic daily candle we had back on December 21st that brought Ripple from, you know,
yeah,
4,400
that was
to
sick. I
7,200.
remember that.
That
And
was
what a beautiful pattern too before it. See how it was like,
it
yeah. And then this
was
is
it was
just
setting
such
up
a
there.
beautiful breakout. Yeah.
So that was amazing candle there. But the problem with that is there's not much
There's
support
nothing
in
between. There's a pocket.
that
Yeah.
zone. So what's currently holding us up
58.
now is the kind of reset from that candle that found support at around 68 to 7, and that pushed us higher there. So my point about holding the 68 to 7 range is if we are unable to, it's a pretty steep fall down to that next support level.
Yeah, that's a really fair point. That's great analysis, Big Jonas. And this is Big Chad's. What do you got next? Well, actually,
All right.
I didn't speak. Let me give you my read on. I mean, I pretty much agree with most of what you've said.
Mhm.
Just in the micro, I am looking at the 1 hour right now. We don't have the luxury of higher lows yet. So, what we have is this level that previously was support and then became resistance. So as you can see right here, this is now a resistance level that needs to be reckoned with right at the 7,300 area, 7,200 area. So we are, as we speak, a couple things jump out to me. We are heading towards this resistance line. We are near the upper Bollinger Band. We are somewhat overbought. To counteract that, we have some decent on-balance volume. What I would probably want to do is real quickly, my eye scans the on-balance volume, Big Jonas. I'm going to try to draw a downtrend line here on the on-balance volume, and I'm going to look to see if we have any kind of trend change. So we're kind of right there, right? So it looks like this is an important candle. We could, in theory, so it's interesting how it lines up. So I don't know if it shows on your screen yet, but draw a downtrend line on the on-balance volume on the 1 hour for Ripple, Big Jonas.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see how if we put in like a nice green candle right here, we would potentially break this downtrend in the on-balance volumes. That'd be an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point because we haven't really broken that for a while there.
Yep, that would be
And
a sign, a potential sign, right?
however, your resistance line that you drew, that's
Yeah,
a real solid resistance
spicy
line.
meatball. Yeah. What's next?
So if it can break that, then it's starting to get a little interesting there.
Yep.
How about some NANO, NANO?
Okay. How's the chat room? What's the temperature of the chat room? How are they doing?
Hot.
All right.
Hot.
All right. Nano. I mean, I don't know. It's not. It's so early. There's no bottom yet. I mean, stochastics looks oversold, but there's no reason to really have too much excitement yet. I mean, you've got some nice buying right here. Let's go 1 hour. You've got yeah, I mean, it's picked up. It's picked up here. It's nice to see it clear this prior level of 76.51. Or it's trying to clear it right now. It hasn't closed yet, but there's not a lot of conviction yet. So I think it's early. That's just what I would have to say. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, this one had, it's one of the newer ones on this exchange. Again, it's one of those alts that's only available on Binance. And yeah, I mean,
But this is rail blocks, right? XRB rail blocks. Is that
Is
Nano?
that what NANO?
I think so. Yeah.
Could be.
We'll find out in a second. Yeah.
There's nothing yet that says to me this has found a bottom really anytime soon. I mean, you could argue that we might be trying to put in a higher low considering where we bottomed out at the 6,000 range ish. So maybe it's doing that, but the actual money flow volume is pretty weak, and I'm not really seeing, and again, this one is so new, right? So there's not a lot of volume history or market history to determine, where it could be, other than the fact that on the daily, the stock and RSI is been bottomed out for quite some time there, so it might be due for somewhat of a mercy bounce, but who knows?
I like it. I like your analysis. What do we have next, sir?
All right, Chad, it's going to be time for about 3 or 4 more. How about EOS, EOS? I know this one you've been talking about because of just
yeah. I've been tracking it. It's
right?
been beautiful. So I see pattern within pattern. So we have the initial. I'm just going to draw this real quick. So as this thing has kind of just kept going, we have this initial consolidation period right there. You can see this downtrend break, and then we have kind of a new high. That's tested, a new downtrend line created, and essentially this pattern is again tested and broken bullishly. So we're kind of continuing. I'm looking to see is do we stop putting in higher highs? With my method, a candle close method that I talk about. And by the way, guys, if you do want to learn more about my method, please go to chedstrading.blogspot.com, the complete beginner's guide to crypto trading. Let's see if this works. There you go. So if you want to know about some of the things I talk about in my method, just click on number 4, chart basics, Bollinger Bands, stochastics RSI, on balance volume, how to draw trend lines, moving averages, just a lot of just the basics, and just to give you guys kind of a leg up when you're not sure where to go, what to trust. I think that's a good starting point. So we are, again, you want to see higher highs. So we still have higher highs so far. So we kind of want to see if that continues, and it's kind of on fire right now. It's nice to see in these, what jumps out again, Big Jonas, and this is Big Chad's, in some of these bullish consolidation patterns. Have you noticed how the price can rise or still be rising even while an oscillator like a stochastics will be resetting, right? It will be resetting with an uptrending on balance volume, like we see here, and just kind of a slightly sideways to up type of a prejudice essentially. While that, I mean, that's bullish. People say, oh, bearish divergence. No, it means it's now looking like it's oversold and it just made a new high. Doesn't that sound pretty good?
It does, and you have to argue that this EOS, at least its recent price action. I mean, this is pretty incredible. This is very bullish.
Yeah.
Lots of money flowing into EOS. This is probably the hottest coin I think we've looked at today, at least, and basically been talking about for quite some time. There, super money flow. I mean, I'm just seeing so many green bars on the 4-hour there.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a couple ominous signs right now. I mean, we are
Really?
super overbought on the
Really?
stock and side on the daily, just from a daily standpoint there.
Yeah, but
A
we're
lot
not.
of
There's no like significant resistance. We're in a pocket that you would pointed out earlier. Go to the 4-hour and scroll back. Aren't we like in a pocket to like 97 or even 90? Yeah, 98. Don't you think we're kind of in a pocket, Big Jonas?
well, so if we kind of see like what are we hitting now? So what is this resistance level right now at, you know, 86, 888 that we're kind of hitting right now? And there is a little historical history in that area there. I'm just looking at this from a pure trading standpoint. This needs to reset. This has
Right,
had
right,
such an
right.
amazing run.
No,
You have to keep your expectations in check. So from a pure just chart thing, I mean, I wouldn't
daily.
touch this. I
But
wouldn't
look at
touch
this.
this.
Okay, but I think you're right. You're probably right, but I'll just counter because it's fun. If you look, we were too hot. We did reset on the daily, and now we've made a new high. So it's like you could see that again, if you know what I mean. We
Mhm.
could stair step in the daily. We could just stair step.
I almost feel like the bullishness has turned to irrational exuberance in this one.
Yeah, no, he's probably right. I mean, usually when it looks like it's so bullish is when you should be most afraid. What? Let's keep going. And
Sure,
I'll
sure.
just quickly, if we miss them at the end, I'm going to check the Binance top five volume in case we missed, one of the ones that it wasn't covered.
All right. How about some Lumen, a little XLM?
Yep, XLM. Let's do that. That's an old friend of ours. I'm gonna go 4-hour Big Jonas on XLM. I don't have any trend lines drawn, but you could see we have lower lows, we have lower highs right now, and uh, we're potentially in like a bearish pennant right here. But you could argue that it can't be a bearish pennant because you can't have it longer than the flag. The length of the flagpole can't be longer than the length of the pennant, Big Jonas.
Mm.
So, you probably would say maybe it's a rising wedge. What do you see here?
You know, I used to play Lumen on its run. It was amazing. Um, we've been consolidating in this area here pretty much latter half of March. I'm so used to seeing it in this, 2,500 to 2,800 Satoshi range.
Uh-huh.
Um, my overall call on this is that this does have further to fall. This had one of the best parabolic moves that it made, and because of that, there's so little support in the, let's say 2,600 all the way down to 1,600 there.
Hmm.
It was just a straight up rocket. So I like that we're holding this area here. There is a little historic support back to last May
Hmm.
where we topped out in this level here. So I think that's kind of why we're kind of chilling out here right now.
Hmm.
However, there is a chance for a lot more downward pressure just because of how far up it came, and the volume has been really trickling off here.
So,
So I'm
yeah.
not really seeing much of a conviction either way here, except
Hmm.
that overall there could be a lot more downward pressure yet to come if this current area does break.
So do you see how I've marked up the chart?
Yes.
So I'm just kind of you could forensically go through it or whatever your own method is.
Right.
And I just like whatever pattern most makes sense. And I see, okay, we have a rising wedge. We're nearing the,
Yep.
the pivot, which is a
Yep.
potentially, essentially where you're going to make a decision. We're nearing when I say pivot, it's like the decision point. And, and that pivot just happens to be at recent resistance levels. Okay.
Mhm.
Coinciding with stochastics being overbought, coinciding with bearish divergence on the on balance volume.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, this looks like an 80-20 probability of it going down, of a rejection at this trend line. In
Yeah,
my
I mean, what you just drew there is amazing because it's a great example of bearish divergence where you have a rising price with a lowering OBV. So
Mhm.
people are basically dumping into a little bit of buying strength, and that I believe is a rising wedge, which is bearish, and it wouldn't be surprised if in the near future a red candle down will kind of confirm that.
Well, yeah, and we'll see this lower trend line tested most likely. I'm gonna rip through Binance real quick and just get these
Sure.
banked out. So we talked about TRX, we did EOS, correct?
Yes.
We did ICX, we did Ripple. We had last time we didn't do is ONT. So let's get ONT done. I've seen that on the interwebs. I've been seeing people talk about it on the webs and the Twitters.
That's the
So
new one.
yeah, so this is yeah. So we have an ascending triangle pattern forming, uh, essentially a bullish pennant is what jumps out at me. What do you see? I'm gonna mark this up. What are you seeing?
Well, first off, this is only available currently on one exchange, on the Binance exchange. It's a super new coin. Looks like it came out March 8th. So we only literally have like 3 weeks of actual price history on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Great pop there. I mean, it basically bottomed at 1600
Oh, look
there
at
and then
that.
shot up to 33 or so.
Mhm.
It almost feels like it's trying to put in that second leg, but it hit a bunch of resistance there at that 33 area there. I mean, this one's tough. It's always tough when you have a new coin with not a lot of price action, not a lot of history. You're basically writing history in real time on this coin here. So as long as the volume stays steady, which it feels like it's kind of dropping off a little bit there,
Yeah.
this could move here. Otherwise, it definitely could be a pullback
This is
candidate.
bullish. This is definitely bullish, I think. I think you got
It
on.
is.
You've
It
got. You've got.
is.
Look at the reset. Look at the stochastics reset. Your oscillator reset, giving you a lot of room to run. You have a potential trend break too on that in this candle, and you're kind of double testing this high. You're gonna probably third or three or four times test this line here, right? And you keep knocking on the door. Eventually, you break it down.
Hmm.
Given, look at the on balance volume looks good. Volume's teetering off a little bit because you're nearing that pivot. Like we're right there. This is pivot time, I think, pretty soon.
Right.
In the next like 8 hours. Uh, let's go to the chat room and then we'll step back in the majors. Or do you want to do? Let's do majors real quick and we'll finish. Not. Go ahead, chat room. What do you got?
Let's do two more alts and then we'll finish up with the majors and call it a day. How does that
Yeah,
sound?
let's do it.
Okay, let's do IOST. IOST.
Okay. So IOST, you can go first.
All right, take a peek here. Let's just go to the daily, get a bigger sense of where we're at here. So, yeah, this one's had a really nice run the past couple days there. I mean, lots of buying action, lots of good green candles there. The 4 hours suggest the same. We're basically been topped off on the daily, though, on the stocking for quite some time there. This one's been super bullish. Um, it's been a great move, but I think this one definitely needs a little time to reset and catch its breath. I mean, that's been some pretty excellent price action. From a 200 Satoshi to almost 400, almost 100% in like a week and a half there. So that was legit.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see a lot of profit taking right now. I just can't see how this continues this current momentum without resetting, especially on the daily. It's been so overbought for a while here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Mm-hmm.
reset this. But the
Okay.
volume is definitely showing me that a lot of people have their eye on this one here, and it's a very tradable coin.
I think it's good analysis. I just caveat a little bit. Like I would put less value in the analysis of the daily chart, given how it's so new. Like just like yes, it's overbought, but like that. I mean, like how many times before has it been overbought? I mean, like it's just a new chart, so like everything is who knows. So I would just say I look at this and I say the answer I'm looking for is going to be in the 4 hour.
Hmm.
In my opinion. Uh, and let's see, I have some kind of weird overlay on this. Hopefully I can get rid of that. But let's see on my stochastics. So anyway, the Bollinger Bands are gone. In any case, it looks like it's still in like a nice upward channel. We are still putting in higher highs right now, so which you're kind of looking for. When I scroll back a little bit, a level I'm kind of looking at, Big Jonas, an important level of potential resistance to see how it does is going to be right around 402. is it looks like that was a prior support area. So if you go back to, let's see, February the 6th, Big Jonas, and the 15th, you could
Okay.
see how that was twice support,
Okay.
essentially, right? So
Yep.
that's a level, right? That's like kind of an important level. So we're still uptrending. We've clearly broken. We clearly put in a high here on the 25th. We've clearly put in a high and we broke it and consolidated around it. Now we put in a new high. So the question for me is going to be if we can go ahead and test the 402.
All right. Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, I think a lot of these coins here, they're reacting to the volatility price action in Bitcoin right now. It's nice to see some divergence as Bitcoin kind of stays flat or even drops to kind of point out some of the alts that are bucking the trend.
Hmm.
It gives you a better sense of what the market might be thinking on these alts. If you see an alt that is moving in lockstep with Bitcoin, that's not really the best looking price in terms of a trading opportunity there, because it's stuck to the whims of whatever Bitcoin does. So if you
Yep.
see a couple alts that are by far and away from a price action standpoint bucking the Bitcoin trend,
Yep.
those are the ones that currently are the ones to keep an eye on.
I agree. You always want to look for divergence. I think it's lazy to just say if A then B, right? I hear that all the time where, oh, why even chart X, this ticker? It's just going to follow whatever XYZ does, right?
Right,
And if
right.
that's the case, why are you listening to this show? I mean, like, clearly you got to look for divergence, and you guys can do this too. We're just a couple guys. We're not advisors. We're just friends talking crypto. And real quick in the Bitcoin, let's wrap this up with a quick little.
Sure.
Let's give people a quick little view here. I mean, the 1 hour is nice on Bitcoin. We all have a beautiful candle right now. 11 minutes to go. So we're showing some strength on Bitcoin right now. We have a double bottom. I'm gonna just draw a quick downtrend line. But what do you have to say about what we're seeing here?
It's funny. It's like I'm seeing the nice move here. I'm happy about it, and then it's like, am I happy about $7,036?
Hmm.
I mean, it seems like
Yeah, but come
we're
on,
trying to.
come on. If you haven't had a date in 5 years and you get a date,
Right.
right? You still get a date, right?
It is, and short term right now, the chart. I mean, at least the hourly chart.
You see
Yeah, it
it? You
looks
see the
pretty
downtrend
decent.
break? You see what the downtrend break?
I see a downtrend break. I see,
Yeah,
kind of a double bottom-ish test kind of confirmed.
yeah.
I'm seeing a little money flow, but am I super excited that we're barely have our head above 7,000?
Right.
I really have to keep things into perspective
No, I
here.
totally agree. I totally
You
agree.
know, if we
Um,
break, as I said earlier in the show, if we can break 7,300 with conviction, now I'm thinking, oh, maybe we have a chance to try and test 8,000 again,
73. Okay, so yeah,
because
mhm.
that's where we got rejected this morning, and that's where it gave it
Yeah,
all back there.
yeah, right
And then
there,
same,
72. I mean, even
yeah,
72. I mean, close above. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
I'm looking for a close, but yeah, 73.
So let's see if we could put a few $100s more onto Bitcoin, and then
Hmm.
let's see if that isn't sold off into people taking profit. That's something I'd want to see. Let's hold some of these gains here. If we do have a little pullback because we've been bought up, let's see if we can hold some of the gains.
Yep.
Big,
That we've had. Big Jonas, we're 10 minutes from this candle close here on Litecoin on the 1 hour. This would be a technical buy signal for a close above this downtrend line that I'm watching here. And then of course, like we talked about before in Litecoin, we have this 124 level, which would be an important test because of a close above. This is where it was rejected previously. As you can see, we have these upper shadows here.
yeah,
So,
I mean, if we can break 125 with conviction,
yep. Yeah,
that's
conviction.
something
What
I
do you mean
want to see.
conviction? You mean volume, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because here's what happened here on that massive candle we had last night. We
Right.
did break
Well, it's too much.
125.
It's too much. You went lower to upper Bollinger, like in one fell swoop. So it's
Right.
like, and you're at the. I mean,
So are we consolidating here? Is this a nice
yes,
move here? It is. It
yeah.
is. We were at 110. We're
Mhm.
now at 120.
Mhm.
Not bad. It's funny. I wanted I wanted to buy at 125. I didn't want to buy at 110. I mean, I'm
Exactly. I
thinking about
love it. I
that.
love it. Right. Love Bitcoin at 9. Hated at 7. Right. I mean,
Right,
all
right.
day, all day.
all day. So here we are now. We're in the 120s. Like,
But
Bitcoin,
shouldn't, if you loved it at 125, should now, if it's at 125 and the conditions are that it is showing a couple downtrend breaks with a couple, signals, isn't that a more favorable 125 than catching it on the way down without bottom signals?
It's great. It's a great question, and the true answer is you have to ask yourself, how did we get there? So when we
Yeah,
got to 109, we
right.
got there with just super bloodletting, and that's what allowed us to have that great candle here. Now we're kind of in this slow trickle up consolidation move here, so we might be able to get to 125 on a very slow pace.
Hmm.
But does that give me conviction that 130 can be easily broken after that? And honestly, right now, it doesn't.
I
Um,
mean, it
you
should
know,
signal though. I mean, if you do close above 125 on the hourly, I mean, that's a pretty clear signal. You're at least going to 133. And it's a clear signal of it. Don't you think it's a pretty clear trend reversal? Because
it
you know,
it could be, but are we climbing up a stone wall or are we bouncing up off a trampoline? On our previous bottoms,
right.
we were able to
But
bounce
who
off
cares?
the
Who cares?
trampoline.
Who cares? It's just about the trend, the direction.
Right.
Who cares? It's all about the direction, isn't it?
Yes, but direction is going to bring buyers in. So you have to
Especially
ask
when you have
yourself,
panic, right? When you have panic,
right.
the first thing you got to do is find a bottom.
Right. So Bitcoin at 7,000, is that going to bring buyers in? Litecoin at
Right.
121, is that
Right.
going to bring buyers in?
Mhm.
And right now, where it looks like about to dip under 7,000 again. So that's kind
Ethereum
of what,
400 too. Ethereum's doing
yeah,
pretty good right at 400.
it's right at 400. It wants to hold it. It would like to hold it.
Higher low
Um,
so far, so far.
I wouldn't be surprised if we try and hold these areas for the next day or so. It
Right.
is the weekend. I don't
Mm,
feel, especially on
mm,
Sunday,
mhm.
a lot of holidays happening right now. So a lot
Right.
of people are probably focused more on that and less on trading. Plus, this is a 3-day market weekend and the overall stock market. These are things that kind of keep a lot of people from sitting at their computers or playing with their phones and doing some actual trading here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're kind of in this sideways pattern over the next day or so until we kind of find some conviction either way. Personally, I still think we are heading down from here.
I think it's a good point. I mean, it's great analysis. And you could say until certain trend lines are broken, then you have the better side of the argument, right?
Right.
I'm more of a incremental person. I'm very much step by step, and sometimes I call it early, but I'm always looking, right? And I'm seeing some pretty good signals on Litecoin right now. Uh, Pretty solid signals. Bitcoin, I am seeing a nice double bottom and potentially a pretty important trend line break here. So we have what, 5 minutes left. I mean, Bitcoin right now is flashing a buy signal in my opinion, just based on this particular method. And Ethereum is hanging in there, but it's got a couple levels to deal with. So
Yeah, I mean, it's how many times does Bitcoin want to tease me with this 7,000 range? Every time we
mhm.
peak our head above 7,000, are you really expecting, am I supposed to get interested? Am I supposed to get excited in that? And then look at that, we're just head back down again. So it's like, there's just nothing there that's telling me that this is a moment where I got to load the boat, that this is an opportunity I don't want to miss. There's nothing in the market that's telling me right now. We're fighting all this FUD. We're fighting the end of the quarter, which ends tomorrow. We're fighting the death cross, which we didn't really talk about this evening. These are all the things in here that are putting significant downward pressure right now on the price of Bitcoin. And the last thing I want to say is, every day where we have a Bitcoin price under 10,000, under 9,000, under 8,000, people get comfortable with these price ranges. So right now, people are beginning to feel comfortable with this Bitcoin low sevens, high sixes price range. Until we're able to shake that, I don't see how we can kind of bust out of this current trading pattern and trading range.
I love it. I love your analysis. I appreciate the good work you do here, folks. That is Big Chonas. You can find him on Twitter at Big Chonas. He likes to do a lot of depth chart from GDAX, and he does a lot of RSI analysis. He's just a good all-around trader. You can find me on Twitter at Big Cheds. You can also subscribe on YouTube. We do a lot of good videos. Hopefully you enjoy our content. We appreciate the feedback. I know Big Jonas, you and I, we do talk. We do appreciate the feedback. We talk about it. So we thank you guys for that. Please check out the blog, chedstrading.blogspot.com. Great articles here. Of course, it's a complete beginner's guide to cryptocurrency trading. You definitely might like the 5 ways trading is just like poker. A lot of similarities between poker and crypto. So some of you guys checked it out. Once again, we thank you for joining us. It's been a fun-filled episode. We're going to have to keep an eye on what happens with Bitcoin. You might see Big Jonas and I pop up here in the next day or so with an update if there's something interesting going on. We want to make sure we keep you guys posted, so to speak. So I hope you guys have a great night. You want to say goodbye? You want to say anything, Big Jonas?
Have a great weekend, everybody. It's so nice to see all the positive vibes in the comments in the chat room. We're super humbled by everyone here. As Cheds always says, we're just a bunch of guys talking about crypto. We personally have these conversations with each other every day on the phone, so we figured why don't we share it with everybody else, and that's what we're doing. And we appreciate you guys here, and love to speak to you guys soon.
I love it. That was beautiful, my friend. You guys have a great night. This is Big Cheds. That was Big Jonas signing off.